Hey, what's up, guys? It's Adam and Shane from Rescue Michigan, and in this video, we're going to talk about lots of drama. Lots of crazy things have been happening this past week in politics. Lots of things happening in Michigan. Big demonstration in Lansing the other day. We have some news about the election reform, citizen-initiated law we've been talking about for a long time, and it's pretty complicated stuff, so I guess we'll just get right into it. But, well, maybe first, let's maybe have a laugh at some of the things happening in the news lately with Governor Andrew Cuomo in New York. His days are numbered. Knives are out for him. Attorney General's getting ready for some criminal charges. Impeachment proceedings are happening in the New York Assembly, so what can you say? Looks like all that woke stuff doesn't protect you, does it?
Well, he's not woke. He's getting replaced by the Black Lives Matter Attorney General. It's the old guard being moved out for the AOC types to take reign over the Democrat Party. So
Oh boy.
this is not good news for anyone that they're coming after Cuomo like this. And it seems like a lot of the charges are total bullshit. Seems like another hit job against someone who they has gotten in their way or is intransigent or is too moderate for the way these activists want to run the Democrat Party. That's why he's getting the axe.
I don't know, man. Did you see the video where he was demanding that woman eat a sausage? Did you see that?
I think I saw it a while back.
It was pretty brutal. He's demanding, I want you to eat that whole sausage in front of me. And if you see this video, like, there is no question what he's trying to do. And I didn't know this when I saw the video, but apparently his daughter was there when this happened. I mean, there's some pretty raunchy stuff out there. So either way, yeah, I mean, of course he'll be replaced with somebody even worse, but sooner or later this pendulum's going to come swinging back the other way. I think it's happening in New York City. Maybe a little bit. I mean, I don't think the new guy on the left is more radical than Bill de Blasio, but we'll see. But either way, it's funny just because, this guy was the Democrats' golden boy. He was their next presidential nominee because, Biden's not going to be able to run for re-election in another 3 years, and Kamala Harris sure ain't the ready for prime time. But I don't know. It's just funny to see all this stuff implode. And then, of course, there was Barack Obama's big party. They said they were scaling it back, but that's not what the photographs are showing. Not at all.
Yeah, it looked like some sort of like decadent, fall of Rome type charade. There's weird, there's weird costumes. I don't know if you or anyone watching has seen the movie Eyes Wide Shut, but it kind of
Yeah.
gave me vibes of that party. Just rubbing it in our faces. They're laughing. They're feasting while we famine. They're crushing us. They're all laughing about it. And now they want us to know that we're peons. They want us to know peasants. Now all this COVID stuff and the pandemic and the never-ending lockdown and the new mask mandates is just conditioning us to love our servitude and bow beneath these awful people forever. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I don't think these messages are going to have the effect they're intending them to have. I think they just can't freaking help themselves. They have to have a big party. Like, did you see the video that Erica Badu posted on Twitter and then quickly took down? Which I read somewhere, I haven't confirmed it, but Erica Badu, I think, claimed that she had to call her dying mother in the hospital because she couldn't be there to see her. But, times have changed, right? Now it's Obama's party, so much for all that social distancing stuff, The things that matter, right? Going to Obama's parties, not. Yeah,
it's a weird like Orwellian disconnect where in one moment they will parrot all of the propaganda and seemingly believe it and be willing to hurt you or throw you in jail or kill you to enforce it upon you. But then the next minute they're off, they're enjoying themselves, they're partying. Yeah, it's just kind of a loss of humanity in so many people.
Yeah, these people are crazy.
It's real bad.
So anyway, I uploaded a video the other day. I didn't do an email about it. It was just a nice little shot to put out there. The Oceana County Republican Party passed a resolution calling for the resignation of Senator Ed McBroom. And the language looked a whole lot like the one that we drafted. In fact, it was almost identical. Although they had some passage in there that was like arguments for and against, which I don't know if they had to do that or not, whatever it is. If that's not the only one out there that these GOP committees are passing, by all means, folks, send them to us. We love showing them off. This particular one passed 22-0 with no abstentions. Absolutely unanimous. So,
is this in his home county? Is this the county where he's from?
No. Oceana County is up north, but in the lower peninsula. McBroom's like the western half of the UP, basically. Yeah, it'd be even better to see some of these things coming out locally, that's for sure. But, nonetheless, and we did a video earlier talking about the state party almost passed a resolution, didn't quite make it, but in the issues committee, but nonetheless, it's important that leaders be held accountable for their vicious attacks on the grassroots. And I want to point something out too, because we're going to be talking about some drama that's been happening in the conservative movement in the last few weeks here. And I want to emphasize that one of the things that we pride ourselves on at Rescue Michigan is being rigorous in everything we do. And the way that the resolution that we had was drafted was to cleave very closely to a point that can't be argued against. So powerful that they couldn't even try, which is to point out that regardless of what you think about Matt DePerno, regardless of what you think about the election being stolen, it was absolutely improper for Ed McBroom, who has a past legal adversarial relationship with DePerno that he didn't even disclose, to elicit the Attorney General to investigate him and initiate legal proceedings, intrusive, expensive investigations, exposing him to bad press, exposing him to political damage. And now, more recently, I think it's become official that DePerno is running for Attorney General, which means he's going to be running probably against Ed McBroom's former Speaker of the House. So the political motivations behind this, all of which could have been completely avoided, were instead pushed right to the front. And, again, you don't even have to be in agreement with Matt DePerno on a lot of things, and I'm not personally. But nonetheless, what they were doing was using that election document to carry out a political hit. And they couldn't address that. They can't address that. If you look at the news stories where they were talking about the resolution, all they could ever say is, Ed McBroom's colleagues say he's an honorable man. They couldn't even address, they couldn't even rebut any of the points that were made in the resolution. The Detroit News covered the story. They didn't even attempt to explain the other side of that argument because there wasn't any. There was nothing they could say. And actually, I want to pull up a story here. This came out recently. This is another thing. This was in our resolution. There's a great article that came out at American Greatness the other day. This is from August 6th, so just 2 days ago. But this is making the point that we were making here about what's going on with the right to counsel. The headline is, the 2020 election is breaking the legal profession. And, we're not going to read the whole article word for word, but just so you get a gist of it, sanctioning lawyers who are fighting to uphold the country's election process is a great way to scare away competent, qualified, and strong ones from taking charged cases. And this is all about the weaponization against the right to counsel, the weaponization of the legal system against the rights of attorneys to represent their clients. And we're seeing this happen in Michigan with the attacks from the governor, from the attorney general, and from the secretary of state against Trump's attorneys, including Giuliani, including Michigan attorneys as well. And here's the point this guy makes. Attorneys in every state are duty bound to offer zealous advocacy for their clients. This doesn't mean they can lie to court, but it does mean they have an ethical obligation to press every possible good faith claim in their client's favor as hard as they possibly can. The American legal system is adversarial. Therefore, a case's legal soundness is only as good as the competition between the lawyers who appear before the court. So when Ed McBroom calls upon the Attorney General to investigate a lawyer claiming with zero evidence that the legal defense fund he manages is being abused for his personal gain, with no evidence, they're damaging people's ability to get lawyers, to get counsel, to represent their claims. So, you know, they're going here to point out this is the kind of little point that the average person's not going to appreciate. And we get that. We get that. But, you know, if you're involved in the active defense of the civil liberties of this country, the principles that our whole system was founded upon, you have to understand these important details. So anyway, this is a great article that summarizes all this. If this transmogrification becomes complete, our legal system will have been gutted, even as appearance-wise, it will seem to be the very same venerable system, and all to stick it to the bad orange man. And this is important stuff. So that's what we were getting at there. And I think maybe this is a good way to transition into, I guess, talking about the big story was this rally in Lansing this past Friday by Stand Up Michigan. And to be clear here, this appears to be a Stand Up Michigan organized event. This was the flyer for it. I don't know if Michigan for Vaccine Choice or these other groups made their own flyer for it, but certainly by appearances, you know, this is the flyer in the style of other flyers that Stand Up's done, so it certainly looks like it. Here from Michigan doctors, healthcare workers, university faculty, and students, contractors who are all being threatened with job loss. Michigan legislators, attorneys, Michigan for Vaccine Choice, and Stand Up Michigan leadership will also be speaking and addressing calls to action, next steps, and possible solutions. So that was the flyer for their event. So I attended the event, and we didn't do anything to try to hijack it or anything like that. We didn't ask for speaking time. We weren't offered speaking time. We didn't even hand out our own flyers. I just went there as a participant. Just kind of hung back and just wanted to take it all in and see what they would say, because this is, as far as I know, the first big rally, or at least the biggest rally so far, for health freedom in Michigan on the vaccine issue this past year. And I certainly think it's an important issue. Shane, I think you'd agree. You know, the basic principles of health freedom are being assaulted like never before. And that's not to say we've never seen a vaccine mandate before, but we've never seen it being pushed by the private sector, pushed by the media in this way. And most especially for an experimental vaccine whose you know, efficacy is questionable at best. And what's happened is remarkably radical. And once again, it's an example of the radical left being able to shift the paradigm with almost no blowback from the opposition about just how radical what they're trying to do really is. So I attended their rally. I just wanted to see what they were going to say. How are they going to pitch it? And I guess the reason why this kind of transitions from what we were just talking about the importance of crafting an effective message and rigorousness, is that some of the things that were said at that rally, there's an old saying in politics: don't give a microphone to someone unless you know what they're going to say. And some of the things that people were saying at that rally were just, well, more than a little strange. Let's just say more than a little strange. We did an email blast on, I think it was on Thursday, and I humbly suggested that if you're going to stick to one particular specific point, it's that by every scientific study, the natural immunity you get from already having had the virus is better than any vaccine. That's absolutely uncontroverted. And yet they're demanding everyone, even people who have had COVID, must have a vaccine. You think about it, that's such an unassailable point, is if all of the science, all of it says that your natural immunity from having already had it is better than any vaccine, why would you ever force anybody to take the vaccine? Tucker Carlson did a great bit about this. Ann Coulter's latest column really slammed on this too. I mean, that shows what a fraud this all is. It would be one thing, and it's still not good, but all the other garbage about demanding we take vaccines for the sake of everybody else, all that falls apart by the simple fact that The people that have natural immunity can't get an exemption. You can't say, why not proof of positive test? That should be better than my vaccine. I've had it. My immune system is already better than any vaccine will make it. That was kind of one point to slam on. There's another big point that came out that would have been a really smart thing to hit on, although nobody at the rally made it. But here's a great thing. The CDC came out this week and announced that that the vaccines don't stop the spread of the coronavirus. Here's that clip.
Well, they continue to work well for Delta with regard to severe illness and death. They prevent it. But what they can't do anymore is prevent transmission. So if you're going home to somebody who has not been vaccinated, to somebody who can't get vaccinated, somebody who might be immunosuppressed or a little bit frail, somebody who has comorbidities that put them at high risk, I would suggest you wear a mask in public indoor settings. Our vaccines are working exceptionally well. They continue to work well for Delta with regard to severe illness and death. They prevent it. But what they can't do anymore is prevent transmission.
That was the CDC saying live on CNN, the vaccine can't prevent transmission. Now, here's why that's such a great point. You'll see here, remember, this is the flyer where they say attorneys will be talking about this issue. So here's the thing people need to understand. The entire legal justification for mandating vaccines is that they prevent transmission. This was the landmark Supreme Court case. It was the Jacobson case. It was Jacobson, I think it was Jacobson v. Ohio. It was the Supreme Court case 100 plus years ago, mandating the smallpox vaccine. And the Supreme Court said, it's okay because it prevents transmission. That's the entire argument. So the CDC just admitted that their entire legal argument for compelling vaccines was bogus. Nobody brought that up. But here's some things that they did bring up at that rally. This is a guy. Let me rewind it just a little bit here. What's that guy's name? Hold on, I've got it pulled up here somewhere. He runs a group called Constitutional Law Group. I think it used to be called Constitutional Lawyers Group. They did change the name for some reason. But let's hear what this guy's got to say. I'm gonna have to rewind this clip just a little bit here.
To Michigan, them for their future.
Here we go.
We've got to change course a little bit, so I want to bring up somebody who is going to give you just a little different twist on what we know.
Let me come up there.
He's an expert on the corrupted judicial system. He's an expert on the Constitution. I actually brought him into Michigan. I got a whole lot of slack for that, or crap for that, I should say. But guess what? Turns out this guy actually knows his stuff. They call him the Judge Slayer because he's put so many judges behind bars.
Yeah!
Okay, wait a minute. Now, Shane, you don't know who this guy is. You haven't seen this before, but did you hear what she just said? Nobody has put so many judges behind bars as this guy has.
What? Like, what the hell is she talking about?
Does that sound does that sound likely to you that this guy has put multiple? Because as far as I've ever heard, I mean, judges get impeached sometimes. Judges might be convicted of crimes, but how many judges get put behind bars, and how many judges could one guy put behind bars?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any major cases where a constitutional lawyer went after a corrupt judge, and actually resulted in the judge being put behind bars. This is someone who, we've been in the liberty movement for like 15 years. We haven't heard anything about this. And if that did happen, that person would be an immediate sensation in the liberty movement, and everyone would love them and think the world of them. So,
right.
Highly dubious accusation, but that's what's in these days. No one ever seems to look these people up or do any research on them. They just mindlessly follow.
Well, let's see where we're going with this. Let's let this guy get up and hear what he's got to say.
All right. standing up against tyranny.
Yeah.
Now, if you ever want to know what the solution is, it's look in the mirror. It's we the people standing up against tyranny. Do we have remedy?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And I will tell you how we get remedy. Very seriously. We are being held up in the courts. As a matter of fact, I just found out today 9 cases that I'm going after these governors as domestic terrorists will not be heard until 2023. I kid you not.
Wait, he's going after 9 governors as domestic terrorists?
How, what's the basis? Just again, it just seems like another gigantic scam to me, and any right-thinking person, I think, would agree.
I'm not aware of any civil action for domestic terrorism. There's criminal statutes for domestic terrorism, but regular people can't bring those. Only prosecutors can. But let's just move it along here. We got more.
They are holding us up in court because the court system is corrupt. Now, this is what I'm going to do right now, and I want everyone to pay close attention. Every public servant has what's called an indemnity bond. If they violate their oath of office, which also must be filed with the Secretary of State, we go after them for the crimes that they are committing by violating that oath of office. So where we're going with this is start filing claims against the insurance companies that hold the bonds. Let's bankrupt these bastards. It's the insurance companies that are holding refuge right now.
Okay.
This sounds like some sovereign citizen style gobbledygook.
Yeah, that was a bunch of complete gibberish. Number one, I don't even think there exists such a thing as indemnity bonds for politicians for breaking their oath of office. There's probably some kind of liability, which you can't sue the insurance companies for. First of all, breaking your oath of office is a legal conclusion. I mean, you can't just file a suit and say so-and-so broke their oath of office. You have to cite exactly what actions were taken, how you prove bad faith, how you prove that this was a violation. And historically, courts are absolutely opposed to doing that kind of stuff because they understand this is the nature of political controversies. Everybody wants to be able to sue the other politician. Imagine if, this is the dangerous game we're getting into, is Democrats legally challenging and attacking Republicans. That's what the January 6th thing is all about. What this guy's doing is the other side of that same coin. Yeah, okay, well, let's go ahead and sue the Democrats for breaking their oath of office. Well, Democrats, if they could play that game, don't you think Democrats in Congress would be suing Republicans for breaking their oath of office, for allowing guns in our streets and violating a woman's right to abortion? And where does it end?
And who in the current system would this favor? Who would this be used against? Us, the best we have in the Republican Party. So this crackpot nonsense could lead to something. Is there any case law?
Is there any case law of suing? By the way, not even suing the politicians. He said sue the insurance companies. For what? For insuring the legislature? Which, I mean, by the way, I'm highly skeptical. I'm not an attorney, but I don't think the legislature needs to have liability insurance against claims of violating their oath of office. They have in-house counsel. They can pay for outside counsel. Maybe the state of Michigan has some kind of legal liability insurance, but it's not. I mean, the state of Michigan is going to face lawsuits for dams breaking, Flint's water pipes, all that kind of stuff. A lawsuit over a politician violating the oath of office, which the insurance company wouldn't pay for unless they actually prevailed. It's not going to even be a major factor. I mean, this is all, as you said, gobbledygook. This is nonsense. But hey, it goes on. So let's keep listening.
So let's go after them. And this is what we do. We file a claim against them. I don't care if it's your school board administration. This is all on our website. You can look it up, constitutionallawgroup.us. We have what it takes. You just fill in the information and boom, go after these school boards, go after these corrupt judges, go after these corrupt senators. Take it to the hit.
Okay. Point here. This is extraordinarily dangerous and irresponsible. Any lawyer talking to a crowd like this would say, talk to a lawyer before you start suing people. This guy just says, go to our website, download whatever forms we have there, and start suing the crap out of everybody. That is extraordinarily reckless and irresponsible and dangerous.
Yeah, and it's just, easy answers. Instead of, you have to go out there and engage people and fight and do these things that won't be easy but are necessary to achieve our liberty. No, just go on my website, hit the donation button, file some nonsense that'll never go anywhere, and keep the faith.
Yeah, it almost counts as a solicitation. I don't think he actually said hit our donate button, but he's essentially saying go out and sue these people. And he's not saying it like in the passive voice. He's saying it as an imperative. You need to go out, sue your school board, sue your politicians, sue the judges. You see how well that goes for you. I mean, you can be on the hook for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars filing frivolous lawsuits. People can get themselves in real trouble doing stuff like this. Maybe this guy knows something about that. But let's let this go on a little bit longer because there's more.
Okay? We, the people, are the power.
Yeah!
It says it clear and straight on our Constitution. We, the people. We always have to hold ourselves accountable for allowing this to happen. So we have to bend our knees to God and say, God, forgive us for allowing this tyranny to transgress our freedom. And I'm going to say straight here now, this is a republic form of government. This is not a democracy. We as people are the largest and the most powerful voice of government, and we need to take our voice back. And if we don't, I warn you, if we don't start standing up, each and every one of us looking in the mirror and taking responsibility for being complacent as they stole our rights, we will lose the greatest nation the world has ever known. And we and the whole world will be indulged in darkness. So I'm not only begging, I'm pleading with each and every one of you. Stand up, start going after the bonds of these public servants. Don't wait for somebody else to do it, you do it. When they become...
That is an absolutely unmistakable directive. Don't wait for someone else. I'm begging you, pleading with you, go after their bonds.
Become unbondable, that seat will become vacant.
No, it won't. No, it won't. No.
I just actually pulled up a Daily Beast article about
I've got it.
This CLG guy.
Yep.
And it goes on about how a lot of his claims it's biased, of course, against election fraud reform. But an interesting part of it is that they reached out to Sheriff Mack, the legendary sheriff who actually won a court case, an anti-commandeering court case that protected the Second Amendment and limited the federal government. So a guy who actually had a major consequential victory for the Second Amendment and for freedom. Sheriff Richard Mack, he's involved with the constitutional sheriffs. He's a legend. Everyone in the Patriot movement knows him. And the CLG group, run by Rick Martin, is listed as they listed the constitutional sheriffs as a platinum sponsor on their website. But Sheriff Mack said, quote unquote, we are not sponsors of that. We have nothing to do with that. Several times I've had to rebuke him. People have asked me whether they should use his stuff. I tell them no. I'm sorry it's come to this. I just wanted to let him do his thing, and I'll do mine. So Sheriff Mack, again, you don't want to go out and, trash these patriots who might be well-intentioned, but when they're being this irresponsible, when they're this obviously fraudulent, when they're leading so many well-intentioned, desperate conservatives and constitutionalists and patriots and Trump supporters to a complete dead end, we have to call these people out. We need to demand better from our movement, because right now it's becoming a joke.
Yeah, I do want to look at this article some more. Obviously, the Daily Beast is radical left and all that, but there are certain things even the left-wing media can't lie about. For example, you can't lie about someone being arrested if they haven't. And we'll see more about this in a second. But yeah, you get to the basic point about all this, which is, it's one thing if you're an average citizen coming to a rally and you're speaking to other people there about whatever. Your responsibility to be absolutely rigorous in everything you say is not all that great. And we are all human. We all make mistakes. But when you're organizing a rally at the Capitol, when you're claiming to speak for a movement of people, and when you're bringing people up on stage who are instructing people to engage in activity that could cause them serious legal exposure, you bear some real responsibility for bringing that message to them. That's why I've been emphasizing Rescue Michigan does not ever be careless with the statements that we make. Whether that's on election law, as I said, there's a reason why some people were mentioned in that Oversight Committee report and we weren't, because we are at all times cognizant of the fact that we're not going to send out email blasts to thousands and thousands of people giving them bad facts and bad recommendations. And you have an ethical obligation. When you're putting out an event and you're saying, come here from lawyers, that the guy you bring on to give you legal advice turns out was in jail this year for posing as a lawyer. I mean, look at this. So here's the quote he says. I've put 3 district judges, 2 district attorneys, and countless law enforcement officers behind prison walls. Yeah, right. He calls himself the Judge Slayer.
Yeah, who are they? Name them. Why is their names listed on his website? Could it be because he's a
This is a
fraud?
charlatan. Yeah. I mean, look at this. He was involved in the case with Marlena's Bistro. He presented himself as a constitutional lawyer, although he's not licensed to practice law. He was held in contempt of court. I mean,
so wait, look, I gotta interject here. So
Marlena,
was that Tammy Clark on stage who introduced him?
I think it was.
And she bragged about bringing this guy to the state.
Yeah,
and
I got a lot of flack for that. She said.
Yeah, no doubt. Presumably hooking her up with Marlena as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of good they did bringing this guy in to so Marlena could rot in jail.
Here's the left-wing press smearing her and Tucker Carlson by association with him because she put a notice on her business based on his advice. Does this sound like something that a lawyer would write or something that this guy would write? You're in violation of your oath of office by trespassing unlawfully on this property and committing an act of domestic terrorism. Obviously, this is something that he wrote. Oh, yeah. Oh, excuse me. He signed it. Martin accompanied her to court. He allegedly attempted to represent her, but his defense fizzled when the judge noted that Martin was not actually a lawyer.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is his website here. Now, as you can see right here, it now has its disclaimer. This site is for educational purposes. We're here to assist you. And who are we? Oh, this is from, oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me go back to the original. About us. Let's see. So here's the about us. And we are pursuing. We're in a very dark time. Doesn't really say who we are. Staff and allies, founders, support staff. You go on here. Advisors. You notice they're being a lot more careful now assistance of counsel, assistance of counsel, assistance of counsel, assistance of counsel. But you go back to the web archive from where it was a year ago. Welcome to the Constitutional Law Group. We are a network of constitutional lawyers. So, yeah. Mirrored site, you'll see in the address bar at the very top of the screen there. rickmartinlawyer.com mirrors it. Now, look, folks, I'm not necessarily in support of mandatory licensure of attorneys, but given that it's the law of the land and it's the law for exactly this reason, I don't think these guys should be posing as lawyers. But that's what they were doing. And they got themselves in a lot of trouble. And yeah, going back to your point earlier about these sound like sovereign citizen types, yeah. He said on here, and this is in the site archive from before, I am not a BAR attorney whose first duty is to the court, which, I mean, none of this is correct. Number one, BAR, he says, is an acronym for British Accreditation Registry. Try to find any primary source document anywhere on the internet to substantiate that. And by the way, also, you ever ask any lawyer? Because they might be able to debunk this claim pretty easily.
But hey, Adam, have you read the Black's Law Dictionary from 1883?
The whole dictionary? No. But so
oh my gosh,
the BAR theory is that either every lawyer in America is in on this conspiracy, that we're actually under British law, and or, well, actually mandatory or would have to mean that somehow every single judicial opinion in the history of law in the United States has somehow managed to never once ever cite British law. I mean, other than common law, which is applied through the 9th Amendment, but American law would trump it every single time. But how can you be under British law when all the conclusions of cases are based on American law? It's a theory that is completely, utterly illogical, completely, utterly without evidence. But, yeah, so he goes on, and this article goes on. I'm not going to read every bit of it. We've been through plenty of this, but this guy's had a lot of legal troubles. And by the way, I got a story about this for you guys. This is way back in, this is a long time ago. This is probably like 2005. But it was the first time I'd heard of someone who was in support of the sovereign citizen movement, and they asked me, like, we have a sovereign citizen class. You should attend. It's really brilliant and eye-opening, and you should come check it out. And this woman invited me. So, all right, yeah, I'll hear you out. I'll hear what they have to say. I'll make my own decisions. So I go to this sovereign citizen movement thing, and it was in the Eastern Market in Detroit. I don't remember the exact address, but it's somewhere in the Eastern Market. And they bring all these people in. And this guy gets up and he's explaining to everyone how all this stuff works. He says, yeah, you can get this international driver's permit. You don't need to have a Michigan license. And he's showing me this. He's showing the group, like, here's this international driver's permit, which, you know, of course has no security features, printed from who knows where. And this guy's telling us, yeah, I get pulled over all the time. And I just show them my international driver's permit. And the cops send me on my way. This is a black guy, by the way. I'm like, the cops send you on your way when you get pulled over all the time. You show them this license, this piece of plastic, and they send you on your way. That chance, I believe that one. And
that's what they always say. That's what the guru always says.
Yeah.
So when they're finding the new marks, that's their it's the same line over and over and over again. A lot of these people get thrown in jail eventually.
Yeah. So the woman that took me there, I asked her about this. I'm like, do you think this would really actually work? Because I don't think it will. I mean, have you ever been pulled over with one of these? No, but, you know, my son has been in jail a few times and lost custody of his kids. So that's why I'm going to more of these classes, because I want to really make sure I do it right. Like that was her actual response was, I just need to take more of these courses, because you got to be so careful with how you do it. You got to know all the details and all the tricks. I mean, and by the way, I have no doubt in my mind that guy that ran that class was working for the FBI. Or maybe not. Maybe he's just a huckster, just a grifter. But
it's hard to tell these days. Hard to tell.
What's the difference? The effect's the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, this is just amazing. This guy gets up on stage and tells people, go ahead, go to our website, get hooked into our resources, get hooked into what we're telling you to do, and go ahead and file these ludicrous claims against insurers, judges, school boards, people who have access to the legal system on taxpayer dollars, by the way. You know, there is a lot of opportunity for litigation out there. Earlier in this event, they actually had Bill Wagner from the Great Lakes Justice Center come on, and he was okay. He didn't say anything bad. I mean, all he really said was, you guys need to get involved, bring more people into this effort, and by the way, we will be pursuing litigation. And okay, yeah, good, that's fine. I don't think
Wagner is a serious attorney, and they've done good work. So he's not a crackpot, but having Wagner up there with a guy like this, you know, really damages his reputation. And it makes all the good people who are on the stage look like clowns as well by association.
Yeah. I mean, it's too bad. But you see the contrast, though. Wagner doesn't get into the legal details of stuff. I would have liked if he had talked about some things. I talked earlier about the Jacobson case. Another one that's happening right now is there's a lawsuit against Indiana University, and Indiana University is trying to use the Buck v. Bell decision. The Buck v. Bell decision, that was the Nazi case that legalized eugenics in America. And Indiana University is now relying on the case that enabled the Nazis to make their defenses at Nuremberg. I mean, talk about that stuff, you know? These are all these great points you could be making if you were an attorney. And if you only want to talk about, you know, we're going to be pursuing litigation, which is fine because a lawyer doesn't have to go into the details of cases they're going to be bringing. That's fair enough. But don't bring on this lunatic that gives people false hope and dangerous instructions. But actually, you know what? This goes on. Let's keep listening.
Now we can fill that seat with somebody of honor, somebody that is willing to stand up for the rights of we the people and that Constitution. Let me explain one simple thing before I hang this microphone up. Is the Constitution does not give us our rights. We are annihilated by our Creator. We only delegated limited authority to our government to protect our rights, protect our borders, and to coin our money. They've been doing such a great job so far, haven't they?
No, and this rhetoric here is basically looping people in.
Present ourselves as the
God. All the easy stuff they can
not the court systems. I have been working with generals, colonels, and we will take back a de jure court system over the corporate de facto court system that has been betraying itself as a court of law.
I've been talking to generals and colonels about overthrowing our court system.
Yeah, I bet he's talking to the same. I always talk to people and they say, "Oh, I'm talking to a Fed on Signal, on Telegram," and they're telling me that JFK Jr. is running the resistance from hollowed out moon base or something like that.
Yeah,
this is the bullshit you hear from people, and they're dead serious. They're dead serious.
Even if it was true,
frightening.
Even if it was true, it'd be terrifying. Because what they're actually talking about is martial law. I mean, don't get me wrong, our court system is deeply, deeply, horribly flawed. But this talk about we're going to enlist the military to overthrow the court system, this is lunacy. This is QAnon stuff. This is exactly what this is. This is active disinformation, but it goes on.
Yeah! And I need each and every one of you to start standing up and saying, no, I will not comply. God bless. America, and God bless each and every one of you that took the time to be here. And I am counting. We are all counting on us being our brother's keepers and teach them what they do not know. And the Constitutional Law Group has been standing up since March 19th when those son of a bitches closed down Texas. On my 50th birthday, as a matter of fact.
Happy birthday!
And God bless. I'm going to turn it over to Tammy, and God bless America.
I'm going to let it keep going.
All right, we are going.
This is the legal mind that the second in command of Stand Up Michigan has brought into our state.
Oh, just you wait. Ron Armstrong's about to speak.
To wrap this up here in the next couple of minutes because we've got some rain, some storms coming in, but Ron and I want to leave you guys with some solid information and some options and some solutions and what are we going to do next?
I want to go up there so bad.
So right now, the one thing I want to tell you guys is there is nothing but opportunity. When the need is the greatest, the miracles are the biggest. When the need is the greatest, God loves to show up and show off in your life. But you have to seek Him. You have to trust Him.
Amen.
And He will be there for you. He's waiting to show us what He has planned for us.
Amen.
So, what are your options?
They're using God to gin up this Q stuff, but let's keep listening because it gets even more.
Healthcare professionals. This Capital One is full of you. Many of you are licensed. Start an LLC. It costs about $45. I'm telling you, don't submit to this. Step out in faith, trust the Lord, and get creative.
Did you see what she's starting to say there? Start an LLC. It costs about $45. What do you think she meant by that?
More groups. She wants more groups to co-op with Stand Up, maybe?
Not quite. Hold on. Let's keep listening.
There are going to be people like me, like all of these thousands of people that are here today that are going to be looking for alternative solutions. So why don't you all go create them? Hello? There's nothing but opportunity right now, standing right in front of us. Same thing with the education systems. It's time for us to hit the reset button, guys. God is showing you there's a way. I know it seems scary, but you know what? It was really scary for the children of Israel to follow God out of Egypt, out of slavery, and into the desert. They complained about it. God got angry with them because He was thinking, what are you complaining about? Being with me in the desert is better than being without me in slavery. And what did He do for them? He led them by a cloud during the day, by a pillar of fire at night. He rained food down for them. Miraculous food. He's the same God. God has not changed. He's just waiting for us to trust Him, to seek Him, and to follow Him out of slavery. Into the desert if we have to. But one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to submit to tyranny. We're not going to stay in slavery. So who's with me?
She's telling people, quit your job, start your own company. Drop out of college, figure out some other way to do it. Because it's like in the Bible. And it's going to get worse.
Who's willing to follow me into the desert with Him? If we must.
Who's willing to follow me into the desert?
Freedom. There's freedom in putting action to your faith. It's miracle producing power, people. That's the stuff that miracles are made of. And He's waiting for you to just step out and trust Him. And I can't wait to hear your stories, the miracles that are about to happen. I can't wait to see what you all do as you get creative. Allow the Lord to give you creative solutions, because we are the ones who are going to hit the reset button. And this great reset, we're going to flip the script on them. Big time. And I want to turn it over to Ron because we have some really interesting information, some legal documents, some resources that are really going to help all of you as well with the practical side of things as well. Ron Armstrong.
Thank you, Tammy.
Got some major weather coming in, so we do want to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. A lot of people have asked for resources. How about some letters that we could provide to our universities and our schools? We have them for you. You need to go to standupmichigan.com, sign up there. Make sure, if you're on our email list, you're all set. We are going to email them. We cannot put these on social media. Facebook will wipe them. We can't put them in a link in a video on YouTube. They will be wiped. We want you to share them with your people and your friends by email, by text. And these are going to be 2 different versions for 2 different groups. They're going to be for people and students. And there's going to be ones if you are immune, meaning you've had COVID, and those of you that haven't. There are links. There is a letter. This is going to be something you could submit to the schools and the universities that you go to. The second group are for employers. Same thing. If you've had COVID, you already have the immunity. You need to give them this information and demand a response from them. Do not quit. Show up for work. Show up on time, and make them fire you. Understand, as Americans, the people, our forefathers sacrificed.
Make them fire you. We will give you legal documents to take to your employers to make them fire you.
So they're helping people lose their jobs and their livelihood. Is that what stand-up's all about?
You know, there's a way they might have expressed what I think they were trying to express more sensibly. Let me pull up something here. Hold on. I got to find the article. People have often asked me about who that guy in the portrait behind me is. You can't see his face right now because I've been zoomed in, but there used to be, I used to have it zoomed out more, and you could see this portrait of this big guy behind me. His name's John Taylor Gatto. He was a pioneer of the homeschooling movement. He passed away just a few years ago, but he wrote this, and I actually got to hear him give this as a lecture when I got to see him speak. But when he was opposing mandatory testing, standardized tests, he had an idea for something he called the Bartleby Project. And this is the article. You can find it. It's at Gorilla. I just Googled John Taylor Gatto Bartleby Project, and it came up in just the first few links. What his point was, so the story of Bartleby the Scrivener was this short story about this guy who was a scrivener at a law firm, and he suddenly started radically expressing free will. And whenever he was asked to do something he didn't want to do, he just said, "No, I'd prefer not to." So he's talking about this all here and talking about the legal mandates of what schools offer and all this other stuff. And then he goes into talking about this story. It's long-winded. You know, he's a teacher after all, an English teacher, so it goes on for a long time. But he talks about. Let me see if I can find where he actually talks about the essay. Okay, so here's talking about the Bartleby story. He says, Bartleby begins to exercise free will. He decides which orders he will obey and which ones he won't. Which ones he won't, he says, I prefer not to. So otherwise he works hard, but then he prefers not to do that ever. So he's done with copying. So, and it goes through, he ends up being fired, being thrown in jail, and dying of starvation. So he says, the simple exercise of free will without any hysterics, denunciations, or bombast throws consternation into social machinery. Free will contradicts the management principle. Anyway, all this is to say, Gatto then says, you know, if you want to resist standardized testing, just refuse. You know, just see where it goes. And there's a certain way to say that, you know, like you could point out the things that Martin Luther King taught people in the civil rights era was you might get arrested, you might get beaten, but do the things that they teach you to be afraid of doing and stand up for yourself. And that's all well and good. But the way that they throw this out there is just so irresponsible. You know, it's one thing to say, listen, I don't know what is going on in your life, so I can't ask you to get yourself fired. I can't ask you to throw yourself into the fire. I can't ask you to put the ability to put food on your family's table at risk. But think of the sacrifices of the founding fathers. Think of the sacrifices of the civil rights movement. Think of the sacrifices of the Israelites, and on and on and on. You know, that's all fine. But when you start telling people show up to work on time and make them fire you, we will give you the documents so that you can sue the crap out of them. That's extraordinarily irresponsible, extraordinarily dangerous. And, you know, he might be covered by the fact that he's a layperson. I hope Ron Armstrong's not an attorney, because any attorney would have to say, understand, I can't give you legal advice. You should talk to a lawyer first. The idea that we're just put, like, let me show you a great example. This is from Robert Barnes, who is a serious constitutional lawyer. If you haven't seen him, just Google Robert Barnes. He makes lots and lots of videos. He's represented lots of high-profile clients, including the Covington kids, including Alex Jones, including, I think he was involved in Trump's legal team for a while. He was Wesley Snipes' lawyer. He's done all kinds of high-profile cases. So he puts out this is a recommended letter for your employer. Notice what he says. No authorship claim or copyright asserted. This letter just came to me in a bottle, and I have no idea who might have penned it, nor can I possibly vouch for it. And what you fine folks do with it is entirely in your own hands. As the gentlemen of the bar remind me, I can prefer no general legal advice in the matter and must officially disclaim preferring any such advice here. In other words, you know, take this with a grain of salt. I can't give you legal advice, is what he's saying. But then he goes on to you know, author this letter, which he is very clear is not to be taken for legal advice. And he lays out all of the best arguments you could make. And some of these things they talked about at the rally, some of them they didn't. You know, talking about the Nuremberg Code, talking about what Fauci's admitted, talking about that having the virus, you know, is better than having a vaccine anyway. Talking about demanding employees divulge their personal medical information, the rights of privacy, the ADA. Talks about conditioning participation in medical experiments, demanding disclosure of private medical information, and on and on and on. All legal arguments he's going to actually be bringing in cases, by the way. That's another thing we should point out. When there's an unconstitutional law, or a law we believe is unconstitutional, a constitutional lawyer is going to say, okay, here's what I want. I want the best client with the best set of facts to bring the best case we can in the best possible venue. And they're thinking about all these things. The client's ability to pay. What court are they in? What judge are they likely going to get? What judicial circuit's going to go under? Those are important considerations. What are the details of the facts? Here's one thing that really will screw over your case royally. You will get in a lot of trouble if it becomes apparent that you sought to put yourself in a situation that would lead to litigation. Litigation is supposed to be a remedy for harm done to you. You know, when there's a lot of campus free speech lawsuits. There always are lots of campus free speech lawsuits. And one case that these groups like ADF and the FIRE try to avoid are cases where the students went out and got themselves in trouble on purpose. They wanted to start a fight and start a lawsuit. And they're like, no, we don't want that. We want a case where the students did everything right and tried not to get in trouble so that we look absolutely perfect and absolutely angelic. You know, there's going to be a lot of litigation on vaccination mandates. It's going to come from many states besides Michigan. It's going to go before all these different circuits. It's going to probably end up at the Supreme Court one day, unless they chicken out again. Those wheels are already in motion. Telling thousands and thousands of people to throw themselves into the gears of their employers is not sound legal strategy. It's just not. And they've brought in people who are not just non-lawyers, but counterfeit lawyers to give people dangerous and irresponsible legal advice. And it's just extraordinary to me. Like, how can you do that in good conscience? You know? What about your donors? What about the people who gave Stand Up Michigan money because they believe in their cause? And you take their money and you spend it. You think that guy showed up without getting some kind of honorarium? How much did they pay him to give that poisonous advice to?
And yeah, we have to, consider that, Stand Up, with their connections that are well documented, is this a group that is deliberately promoting these crackpots and feeding bad advice to the grassroots in order to neutralize them? There's been a lot of reports on the ground of stand up kind of coming in and gobbling up local organizations. And then those organizations, kind of just spin their wheels and don't really seem to accomplish much. So this could be a blueprint to deliberately sabotage us, not just the run-of-the-mill incompetence that we've come to expect from a lot of so-called leaders.
It could be that. I would tend to give it the benefit of the doubt that it's just the blind leading the blind and they don't know better. But the problem is, when you're running an organization, you have a responsibility to know better. And you can't just say, "Oh, I didn't know. Oh, we all make mistakes." I get that. We all do make mistakes, and you and me both, Shane, can probably think of many that we've made over the years. But there comes a point. This isn't the first time this has happened. Where they're like the big rally in Antrim, and they bring in this guy who's got this theory on how the turnout by age proves that the machines were regulating how many votes came in. And it's like, if you knew anything about elections, you'd know why that is impossible, because machines don't count turnout. Election officials do. And it's just they are again and again bringing and we don't have time, and I'm not going to go through some of the other speakers there today. I mean, again, well, I'll just say generally speaking, if you're trying to argue against vaccine mandates as a principle, you make the argument against the negative claims. For example, like all the studies that are showing that there is real possible harm that you can get from taking a vaccine. All the studies showing that people that are immune don't need a vaccine. What you wouldn't do is make the most contentious, difficult to prove positive claims. Like, for example, ivermectin prevents COVID and cures COVID. Might be, might not be. That's an academic discussion that you could go back and forth with somebody about forever. It's not an effective argument that the other side can't argue against, because you'll bring in your studies, they'll bring in their studies. But they were constantly going back to like making the weakest possible arguments. And it was like this for almost the entire day. So I don't know. Look, I'm not trying to pass judgment, but Stand Up Michigan, if you are listening, just please do better. Just please do better. I don't like starting drama. I don't like being critical like this, but I hope you see that what Shane and well, me in particular have done here is pointed out intellectually the shortcomings of what you've done. And if you want to be mad at us for that, fine. But just stop doing it. Just be more rigorous. Just call serious attorneys, serious people. If you need people to be medical experts, call the people that wrote the Great Barrington Declaration. Look who's been on Tucker's show, because he is rigorous about who he brings on. He does not want to get in legal trouble. But all I can say is the facts of this rally speak for themselves. And we're gonna have people going back here fired up like this, playing fast and loose with facts, and perhaps getting themselves or their loved ones or their friends in real trouble. Employment trouble, legal trouble, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, thousands of people went to Lansing and they got this hopium. They got terrible advice. They're going to go back in the grassroots. Probably many of them are going to, at the very least, embarrass themselves or, face, loss of job or legal repercussions because of listening to people like this. And it's a real shame. And the more I see of it, the more I'm convinced that it's being sort of driven by the big money sources to keep us, completely isolated, completely in a bubble, completely unable to reach the greater population and make these points that need to be made against the vaccine mandates or against election fraud or things like that. So they get nothing through the mainstream media. Big tech censorship has ramped up considerably. And so we're kind of isolated, and then they send in a bunch of nincompoops to stir us up and make us look like clowns whenever we are able to reach the outside world. So I think it's a very deliberate program they're setting up, and unfortunately, too many of us fall right into it over and over again.
Well, I hope they prove that wrong by changing their behavior, and then we can concede it was just, you know, beginners' mistakes. But if this keeps going on, I don't know how much longer I can believe that. Anyway, I think we're due for a transition, and I think Mr. Ron Armstrong is the guy to give it to us.
Much for you to have the freedoms we have today. We have not sacrificed much. Don't pretend we've sacrificed much yet. It is time that we're willing to sacrifice. Because this sacrifice is what's going to determine the future of our country for you and your children. Go to standupmichigan.com, sign up under your county. We will be emailing you all 4 of those letters along with a letter that actually explains how you're going to send it in, what your response are going to be. These are been looked over by legal scholars. The links are real.
Legal scholars, not lawyers. But that wasn't what I was going to get to. It's still coming.
It's going to, they're not going to be able to respond because we're providing them the truth. And if they choose to not respond, then you're going to be able to sue the hell out of them.
There it is again.
We eventually go to our governor up there across the street and say, we're willing to follow you, but we can't follow you if it's going to affect our bottom line.
Fire her!
It's time to inflict pain on them. They believe all they have to do is speak and you will respond. They believe they tell you to stay home, put your mask on, and just wait for me to speak on television, and that's what you're going to do. But you're not doing it anymore. No! We stood up. You were all part of, how many were part of Operation Gridlock? An unbelievable showing.
Stand Up Michigan did not organize Unlock or Operation Gridlock. The Michigan Conservative Coalition did that. He just helped himself to credit for that. They had nothing to do with that. I was involved in talks with
They always
MCC.
piggyback off of other people's accomplishments, it seems.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's all they do. Yeah. MCC organized that event. I remember talking to Roseanne in that group and saying, I think you guys should wait a couple of weeks. She said, no, we want to do it now. It's time. Damn it, we're doing it right now. They put that thing up on Facebook. They got it out there. They made that happen.
God bless them for doing it too.
Yeah, that was a tremendous, important event. But anyway, that's not the transition. But we're getting there because he doesn't have much time left.
But then we all went home. We felt good about ourselves and went across the country. These are the people that stood up. And then we said, what do we do now? That's why it's important. What we do now is we have to stand united. We have to join in your community with people. We have to attend your school board meetings. We have to make sure that every single school board is going to make it optional for your children, for the parents to decide whether your kids are mandated or not mandated to be able to be vaccinated. And the staff, the same. Many schools across this state absolutely have made the decision to make it a choice. We need to make sure all of them do. And if your kids go to one that isn't, then show up and say, I'm here, but my kid's not entering that building until you take those mandates away. I promise you, they will go away if we, the people, stand up. And this isn't optional anymore. You have left the televisions last year. You've left the computers over the winter. You are now here. You're in the stadium with us. We are now a part of one team. We're a.
You hear the psychological techniques going on here, right?
Sounds like what's that?
NLP,
Yeah, neuro-linguistic programming going on here from Ron.
Yeah. All right, anyway.
Part of being American, and together is how we're going to change this. The legislators that serve and represent you in this building, they look and see this crowd, and I can promise you, we can bring 5 and 10 times this many people if they don't listen. But the solution is never going to come from here. It's not going to come from Washington.
True patriot.
It's going to come from you. It's going to come from us. Because we are ultimately in control. We give them the courage. We give them the courage to stand up to do what's right. We are going to demand these bills be passed. Unlock 2 is going to limit the health department in the same way as Unlock Michigan did. It's coming soon. And one last thing. It's coming right after that. Legislation for election integrity. It's coming. That's going to be Unlock 3, the trilogy. We are going to take back control of our government, and our people are going to take back control.
There it was. Election integrity is coming after Unlock Part 2. After Unlock Part 2. I hope they don't know what they're talking about.
Something doesn't compute here. And plus, we're going to have legislation. The legislation's already been introduced. The legislation
right. Well,
is active.
he was tumbling over his words. What he meant was they're going to do a third citizen initiated law after Unlock Part 2. Now, that's never been in the mix anywhere. That's certainly nothing that we've ever said, and it's certainly nothing anybody who was involved in drafting an election integrity citizen initiated law has ever said. So I don't like to repeat rumors because rumors can be wrong. But I've also gotten about to the end of my patience with the silence we've been getting from certain entities that have told us just one more week, just wait and see, just one more week, just wait and see, just one more week, just wait and see. We were told this would be out the door by mid-May. I told them, slow down, let's get the policy right. We can take our time. We have plenty of time. Memorial Day is still a good ways away. That was 3 months ago. Now we're getting late into the summer, and nothing has materialized. And there's a few things going on here, I think. So, first off, one of the things Stand Up Michigan takes great pains to conceal is that they aren't Unlock Michigan. Unlock Michigan is a completely separate legal entity controlled by completely different people. Stand Up just kind of glommed onto them because they enjoy the credit, and Unlock, for their part, doesn't particularly care because they don't want to be the face of it. They don't want the Lansing money behind them to be the face of their organization. We looked at it, and I think just the last couple of videos, Unlock Michigan raised and spent about $3 million for their effort. And that's fine. That's great. Most of where the money came from, we don't really know because it came from some basically anonymous organization. It's called something like Citizens for Better Government. We don't really know what it is. If I had to guess, I would probably guess the Restaurant Association, maybe the Small Business Association in Michigan. And again, that's all fine. That's all well and good. Now, Unlock Michigan is doing Unlock Part 2, which would make sense. It's pretty much the same thing, preventing the lockdowns from destroying small businesses, among other things, but it would make sense that small businesses would support that. What I've heard has been going on is that Unlock was approached about also doing the Election Integrity Project. And Unlock said, sure, but we're going to need an absolutely extraordinary amount of money to do it. And by extraordinary, I mean about double what it needed to be. Double what Unlock even spent on their first time around. Now, this other entity doesn't need Unlock Michigan. Unlock Michigan didn't even do all that much. They mostly outsourced the signature gathering to A, volunteers, and B, paid staff. I think In the Field is the name of the company that does those. Unlock Michigan is not the only professional political organization in the known universe. If you need political consultants to run your project, I know several. people who have run congressional campaigns, people who have run U.S. Senate campaigns, people who have run ballot proposals, people who have run multi-state legislative projects. If you have money, and they say they already have money, they don't need unlock. And they don't need stand up. So we're going to be looking into that over these next couple of weeks, because I don't think the grassroots are going to be all that happy with having to wait till after the next election before we get any meaningful election reforms. Because that's what he was saying. And he did a good job of dressing it up into an applause line as the closing line of the entire rally to say we're going to get election integrity, but what he was really saying was we're postponing election integrity by 3, 6, 9, 12 months is what he just said. So there's that. By the way, something else I've heard behind the scenes, another reason why that election integrity citizen initiated law hasn't come out yet. I've heard they've been making some last minute changes to it, taking out some important elements of it, taking out the bit about requiring a driver license number to be able to vote. I heard the reason it was taken out is because Ann Boleyn was demanding it was taken out. Because Ann Boleyn doesn't want to make any clerk have to do 1 extra ounce of work. And, having to verify driver license numbers would be work. So, just going to go by the last 4 of your social security number. Something that, I don't know, probably some people in nursing homes have access to. Hard to have to wager a guess. I don't know why that would even be less work than getting a driver license number anyway, but maybe the last 4 is in the voter file, that the part that the public doesn't have access to. But that's what I'm hearing. That Ann Boleyn saw to it that driver license verification was taken out.
So yeah, we're still, this is scuttlebutt. We don't know exactly what's going to be in the Secure My Vote ballot initiative, alleged legislative initiative petition, whatever the official name is. We don't know for sure. We don't even know for sure if it's going to even be produced. But the way it has been handled thus far should not give anyone any optimism. There seems to be kind of a whittling down, a watering down process that is continuously going on. And, if I'm not sure if this Unlock 3 will be combined with that or a totally different thing, or if that's just more bluster, who knows? I feel like we're almost like getting, I feel like they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes yet again by saying, oh, there's going to be the ballot initiative. It's coming. And then next thing you know, the midterms will already be here and nothing will be changed.
Well, the midterms are when people will be held accountable for their action or lack thereof. So we'll see. Let's hope things change. Let's hope we have some meaningful discussions in the next week or so. Now, as to the watering down of the citizen-initiated law proposal, there is one legitimate reason why all the things we've asked for can't be in there, and that is the limitations on the length and of the overall thing. The actual proposal itself, and there's also a 100-word summary, where you don't want to have a court challenge where the other side could plausibly say people didn't know what they were signing. That's one thing. But it appears we're now at a point where they are deleting more and more and more, and they're doing so because of Ann Boleyn. So something will have to be done about that. We'll be talking a little bit more about Ann Boleyn this week, guys. We'll be talking a little bit more about what to do when a politician is not just not doing what you want, but actively sabotaging your core issue. So stay tuned for that, folks. We've been going a long time, Shane. I think we had a couple of things I wanted to chat about, including some apparently there's some drama going around the interwebs about me and Rescue Michigan, but I think maybe we'll save that for another day, because
yeah, it's getting late, and I think next week we can kind of talk about some of that. I think the tentative plan is we're going to watch Deep Rig and comment on it, as the documentary plays. So
yeah, let's do that. I've been thinking about that too. This video came out and everyone's gaga over it, and well, let's just tell you. I mean, let's just do what we just did now. We're gonna have a watching. We're gonna watch the movie and kind of comment in real time what points of that they raise have merit, and maybe what points don't. And we'll see where this all goes. And maybe maybe we'll talk a little bit more about some of the drama going on. I have a feeling we just started some more, so that will be interesting to see how that plays out. But hey, for all the people, well, for the one person who's been saying nasty things about Rescue Michigan and me, we would do a lot better if we played nice with everybody and we weren't popping off at lawmakers and officials and other organizations, doing stuff like this, causing drama. Nobody wants this. We do it because the grassroots needs to know this stuff, because there is a lot of policy details. There is a lot to politics. You can't just understand how this all works from watching the news. Being involved in politics for years and years and years, seeing people come and go, seeing conspiracies play out in real time, you get some street wisdom, and you want to alert people when they're being misled, when they're going down the wrong path, when they're doing the wrong thing. And loyalty to issues over loyalty to personal benefit is the exact opposite of what the politicians will do every time. They will always take the easier path. They will always take the path where they'll tell you what you want to hear, give you every reason to believe that what they've done is all that needs to be done or the most they can possibly do. And when the other party comes around and says, actually, they haven't given you much of anything at all, and frankly, they've been throwing wrenches into the works behind your back, you don't make friends. You don't make allies. And that's the way that goes. But the truth matters. The details matter. So we're going to be talking more about the truth and the details of some other issues going on in Michigan and elsewhere. Until next time.
I'll give a final thought.
Yeah, please do.
Just one thing I think to avoid not being conned or not being hustled with bad information or with hucksters is don't be looking for the silver bullet. It took the generations for us to get in this bad of a situation. We're not going to get out of this overnight. It's going to take a long, hard battle, and it's going to take hard work and sacrifice, and not the sacrifice of, we're going to download some letter and hand it in. We're going to, file some frivolous lawsuit, even though 500 other lawsuits have just, been completely ripped to shreds in the courts. It's not like we're going to just have a documentary that comes out. It's going to wake the world up and we're going to fix the elections. No, this is a sustained campaign. We have to get out there in our communities, find our like-minded people, find the independents, work on them, make the best possible case to them that our points are valid. And it's not always going to be, you may get rejected more times going door to door than your message is accepted. You have to keep going. You have to find these people. There's tons of Trump supporters out there right now who are just dying to be engaged. Maybe they're atomized. Maybe they're isolated. Maybe they, haven't had great family ties because their family all believes in the COVID, the COVID pandemic and the need for lockdowns, and the need for mandatory vax. So we find these people, we bring them in, we grow the activist base. And then when the lawmakers see that we're not jokes, when we're not, following these obvious charlatans, when we're not putting out these dubious legal theories without merit, then when they see that we're legitimate and that we know what we're doing, that we're following proven tactics that are known to win and boot bad politicians out of office, then they'll be forced to do the right thing. That's the only thing that will do it, is them being forced to do the right thing by us being very, very strong in our local communities and being able to do campaigns against them and hit them where it hurts. So that's what we're doing. We're building the foundation here at Rescue Michigan. We're not giving easy answers. We're not, peddling hokum to get a quick buck, despite, what certain liars may say. We are giving the hard truth and the tactics that we need to actually build the foundation so that we can have liberty in the future.
That's right. There is no magic bullet. There's no one answer. If we pass Unlock 2, we pass election integrity, we still have all the issues that were damaging our country before any of this stuff started. We weren't exactly in a libertarian paradise prior to the COVID outbreak, when no one even thought about election integrity back in those days. But there's many, 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 many fights, and the forces of tyranny can fight on all fronts at once. So it's seductive to think there's one thing we can do to fix it all. Let's have a convention of states. Yeah, that'll fix everything. Yeah, knowing what you know about the judiciary, knowing what you know about the mass media, knowing what you know about the political class. You think nothing could go wrong with that? I don't buy that. There's no one answer. Election integrity is not going to magically fix our country either. There's a lot more problems than that. And it's going to take shoe leather work, precinct organization, knocking on doors, mobilizing voters in election after election after election, changing people's minds on issues in the long term, not the short term. And, it's seductive to want to get together with friends, which you can do at a rally or a local meeting. And local meetings are an important part of political organizing. There's no question about that. But the hard part is getting together and going out and talking to your neighbors. And that's a whole different world. So we'll talk more about that in an upcoming episode too. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. It's coming into just under 90 minutes here, so we're going to call it a night, but we'll have some more content later this week. So once again, thanks for all you do for liberty. Until next time. Peace.
Later.